Welcome to another conversation. Today I will be speaking with Josef Herzog. He's the Associate Director for our business line automation. This promises to be a very interesting conversation and I'm really looking forward to it. So Josef, welcome. Good to have you here.
Welcome, SUSHAANT, and thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure for me to talk to you.
So what did you bring for us today?
I have here a microcontroller, which has several analog and digital in and outputs on board, where you can very easy connect sensors and other devices and put on standard software and it will work. When I started in the automation several years ago, if you want to realize a functionality like you can do this with this microcontroller, you have to build up a cabinet with approximately this size, and it was hard to get the right programming devices, to get the right code, and as these devices were very expensive and rare on the market. And nowadays, even my 7-year-old daughter is used to have work on the tablet, on notebooks, and even the kids are able to program controllers like this with standard software they download from the internet, like PNID controller, counter, timer, and so on.
So that for me represents the evolution of technology, the way ZETA puts it. And speaking of technology, I noticed this straight away and I have to ask you this, is why do you wear 2 watches?
That's funny. Since I wear this strap several times, I was asked this question. Well, it's not a watch, it's a device which contains a set of sensors which monitor and records data from my body, like the heartbeat rate and respiratory rate, detects the sleep phases, and this helps me to understand my body in a better way and to optimize the way of sleeping, the training and the nutrition and so on.
So I know you're really an automation person because data is in your blood, clearly.
Definitely.
So can you talk a little bit about your background and how you got to the point where you're here today?
Yeah, in the middle of the 90s, I started as a mechatronic in the machine construction and automation field. At this time, mostly in the automotive industry. Since this time, I was always working in the various fields of automation, but in several different industries, like steel plants and gas, natural gas and energy, as well as the food industry. Since 2008, I'm used to do process automation and common in using DCS systems. And in 2012, I ended up in the biopharmaceutical industry at ZETA, where at the beginning I started as project engineer and developed myself via project management, team leading in our office in Freising and Vienna, as well as support for automation guys in Moravan in the Czech Republic, to my current position as Associate Director for the business line automation.
So you've clearly had a very interesting and varied career across industries. Can you talk about what you find unique and interesting about the biotech and biopharmaceutical business?
Well, the very unique thing is that the facilities in the biopharmaceutical industry produce drugs which have direct influence to the patient's life. And who needs drugs? People who are ill, and so they are usually more weak than healthy people, and so it's much more important to have the highest ever possible product quality. And if you understand the relationship between automation and the production process, it helps to control the processes and to keep the product quality very high.
So I think that's a very good point, because when you're injecting a product into the bloodstream, you have to be very careful about sterility. And the other side of that is if there's a batch failure or a product failure and a company needs to recall certain product from the market, that could do a lot of damage to not only to the patients, but also to the company and the reputation. So I'd like to ask you about what role automation can play in ensuring product quality and yield and preventing situations like that from happening.
Well, automated production processes are reliable and reasonable and replicable. And this is very important for the quality assurance and can minimize the risks, and to the end it can save money for our customer. With good automated processes and provided data, we help to avoid product loss, in the best case in advance, and due to this data amount, it helps us to optimize the processes.
So ZETA is for me, it's a full service provider. We have a very comprehensive portfolio and we can deliver a lot of services and products for our customers. Can you talk about how automation functions within this portfolio, how the automation team would interact with the customer and with the other departments?
Well, the automation part is one part of many different parts, which at the end has to fit together to the big picture ZETA will provide. And therefore, ZETA builds out of very different disciplines one project team, which is able to answer the right questions at the right time. Therefore, it is essential that automation engineers are directly talking to process and mechanical engineers, as well as the validation and qualification departments, and of course, the operators of our customers. For instance, in our Viennese office, the automation engineers and the process engineers share the office together and work together to figure out the correct production steps, the correct production data and correct production parameters, to specify them in a way which is realizable in a software code. And of course, the automation engineers has to work with the IT departments and automation departments of the customer to be aware of their wishes and needs and implement these in the automation concept and realize this to provide a proper solution for our customer.
So you spoke about the customer wishes and needs, and our customers often have very different kinds of production equipment, systems, technologies, IT platforms, or even automation platforms. So how does your team deal with different companies with completely different needs and requirements?
Well, due to our interdisciplinary engineering, the focus is on the process for the customer, and this has to be an ideal process for the customer. And therefore, it doesn't matter if it is stainless steel or single-use equipment. To be honest, the best results are usually built by hybrid systems. And on the other hand, it doesn't matter which level of automation we have to realize, SCADA system, a DCS system, with or without batch control, with integration in an MES system and so on. That's all very various. And due to our big experience out from big projects as well as small projects, we are able to provide a proper software solution for every customer, independent of the platform and the systems.
So what you're saying is that we are platform agnostic. We can work with any kind of technology because for us the process is the starting and the ending point.
Definitely, and nearly every platform, which is conform to the GMP requirements. So can you talk also about the future and where you see the pharmaceutical business and specifically automation, how you see that kind of developing? Well, the trend moves towards to personalized medicine, and therefore the batch sizes will dramatically decrease, and the production plants have to be very high flexible. And therefore it is a need to have very customized processes based on very common standards. I mean, if we take again this microcontroller, you can connect very easily sensors and other devices, drop down from a library the proper software functionality, set some parameters, and the device is running. I think the future of the automation and this high flexible production plants goes in this way. There is some very interesting development ongoing called modular type package, and I'm really looking forward to it.
So that brings us towards the end of the conversation, and I like to ask at the end if there's one key message you want to leave people with, what would that be?
Well, when I think about the vision, it will be we have very high standards but don't provide standard solutions to our customers.
That's a very good way of putting it. Thank you for your time, Josef. Would you also be open to answering some personal questions?
Of course. Let's go on. Thank you.
So Joe, we heard about you as the ZETA automation guy, but what about the personal side? Are you a beer or a wine guy?
Why or?
The best way to run meetings is?
Provide an agenda, be prepared, and make decisions.
Your favorite app on your smartphone is?
Whoop.
You're Austrian. What food do you miss abroad?
I would say black bread.
Do you prefer a sitting or a standing desk?
Sitting, but to be honest, I've never tried a standing desk.
The biggest distraction in your workday?
Teams chat.
Who has been the biggest influence on you?
That must have been my parents.
Your favorite movie?
Star Wars or Star Trek. Definitely something in the future and in space.
What is your greatest desire?
A trip to outer space.
And the last question, what's the last thing you're doing in the evening?
I go to bed.
Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing you again. Please check out our next interview as well.